The most dangerous person in a room is rarely the one who shouts, threatens, or dominates with volume. Power does not reside in noise. It resides in stillness, in control, in the unshakable calm of someone who understands that words are currency and reactions are weakness. While others argue, defend, and explain, he observes. He studies. He calculates. In that quiet, he gains supremacy. Every word you utter gives away information. Every reaction exposes the architecture of your mind to those watching. The silent strategist withholds both, forcing adversaries to confront the void of uncertainty, their own fears, and the contradictions within themselves. Silence becomes a weapon sharper than any blade. When disciplined, silence dismantles aggression, destabilizes ego, and commands respect without a single syllable. Today you will learn the dark silence strategy, the ancient method employed by emperors, generals, and philosophers to achieve psychological dominance without confrontation, without argument, and without violence. Understanding this will allow you to control not through force, but through absence, through observation, through the terrifying authority of unspoken power. Most humans confuse noise with strength. They believe aggression, visible anger, and rapid speech are signs of dominance. That is primitive thinking. True authority is expressed through restraint, observation, and inaction. By remaining unreadable, the silent strategist forces others to reveal themselves. Their words, actions, and emotional overreactions expose weakness while he remains composed. Projection becomes their downfall. Their fears, doubts, and insecurities fill the silence, magnifying their own internal chaos. Every challenge met with silence becomes a mirror reflecting their vulnerabilities. This is psychological jujitsu. The more the opponent engages, the more they weaken themselves. The silent strategist does not compete in verbal arenas. He removes himself entirely, setting the pace, controlling the battlefield, and forcing others to react to his stillness. He becomes the unmovable axis around which the chaos of the room spins. Humans fear what they cannot predict. The nervous system craves patterns, certainty, and feedback. When provoked, they expect a reaction, escalation, a return volley. The silent strategist breaks that rhythm. In his absence of response, the adversary encounters unpredictability, anxiety, and self-doubt. Unreadable presence is terrifying because it is unknowable. In history, emperors, generals, and philosophers understood that silence can be louder than war cries. They did not need to assert dominance with words. Their measured pauses, their still observation, and their refusal to engage communicated authority deeper than any speech. Silence exposes vulnerability in others while preserving the strategist's own interior fortress. The more they speak, the weaker they appear. The more they overreach, the more they collapse internally. Silence is dominance. Stillness is supremacy. Observation is lethal. Those who master the dark silence strategy dismantle opposition before a single word is spoken. The silent strategist understands that humans are slaves to expectation. Every mind seeks patterns, craves answers, and fears uncertainty. When confronted with someone who refuses to speak, who refuses to react, the brain flails in a void of unpredictability. Anxiety rises. Judgment falters. Decisions are made poorly. Every question the silent strategist does not answer becomes a trap. Every provocation met with inaction becomes leverage. Observing chaos while remaining composed is not passive. It is active manipulation. The adversary dismantles themselves from within. Their assumptions, miscalculations, and overextensions become the very weapons that the strategist exploits. Ancient generals and Stoic philosophers mastered this principle. Marcus Aurelius counseled restraint. Epictetus taught that self-control is the ultimate victory. Silence is not mere absence, it is psychological architecture. It structures the battlefield invisibly, ensuring that every reaction from others plays into the strategist's hands. Silence is amplified by context. In a room of chaos, a single unmoving figure becomes a focal point of fear. In negotiation, in confrontation, in personal encounters, words bind and distract. The silent strategist uses absence as leverage. Every hesitation, every glance, every pause communicates authority more effectively than 1,000 arguments. Opponents attempt to fill the void with noise, and in doing so, they reveal weaknesses, desires, and fears they never intended to share. Observation turns into dominance. Mastery over self becomes supremacy over others. This principle extends beyond conflict. It governs influence, attraction, and authority in all arenas. The silent strategist bends perception without physical effort.
He does not shout.
He does not demand. He does not explain. He allows others to unravel while he remains untouchable. Control is not seized, it is preserved, cultivated, and projected through deliberate absence. Power is often mistaken for action. Reaction is not strength. It is a surrender to impulse. The silent strategist converts inaction into strategy. By withholding engagement, he forces others to overextend, over-explain, and overcommit. Their words, reactions, and emotional outbursts become evidence of their own instability. Stoic philosophy teaches that mastery over self is mastery over circumstance. By applying silence as a deliberate tool, the strategist externalizes this principle. The less he exposes, the more control he exerts. Opponents project intentions onto him that do not exist, their minds filling gaps with conjecture and fear. This creates an invisible cage from which they cannot escape. Observation becomes dominance. Stillness becomes a weapon. Absence becomes an empire. To master silence is to manipulate reality without confrontation, ensuring that the outcome always favors the composed and the patient. The silent strategist understands that absence is more potent than presence. Words may persuade, actions may coerce, but absence is uncontested. When you withdraw from reaction, you create space in which others reveal themselves. Their fears, arrogance, and impulsive tendencies emerge unfiltered. Observation in stillness is not passive. It is active control. By refusing to engage, you force the opponent to occupy the void themselves, turning uncertainty into self-destruction. History is littered with leaders who wielded silence like a blade. Marcus Aurelius counseled restraint. Epictetus praised the disciplined mind. Seneca warned of impulsive speech. Silence is not inaction, it is architecture, structuring perception, behavior, and outcomes with invisible precision. In every encounter, those who speak less reveal less, and react minimally command authority. Silence forces others to fill gaps, creating overexposure and vulnerability. In the mind of the adversary, uncertainty becomes fear, fear becomes paralysis, and paralysis becomes opportunity. Predictability is weakness. The more someone can anticipate your reaction, the more power they hold over you. The silent strategist removes this leverage entirely. By remaining unreadable, he forces others to question their own judgment, second-guess their actions, and overextend themselves. Each pause, each measured glance, each unspoken intention is a calculated signal. Humans fear the unknown. They panic when patterns fail. Silence becomes an amplifier of perceived power. In negotiation, confrontation, or subtle social maneuvering, this principle dominates. Those who speak to control often lose. Those who control without speaking remain untouchable. Absence becomes dominance. Calm becomes authority. Observation becomes a weapon sharper than any sword. The silent strategist's strength is invisible yet undeniable. He bends reality not with words or threats, but with restraint, patience, and the terrifying clarity of composed presence. Emotional overextension is the enemy of control. Those who speak to dominate, justify, or defend expend the very energy that sustains influence. The silent strategist converts restraint into leverage. Each withheld reaction preserves authority and magnifies the opponent's mistakes. By allowing others to reveal their inner chaos, he manipulates perception invisibly. Their impulsivity contrasts with his composure. Their desperation amplifies his presence. In battle, negotiation, or psychological warfare, The one who remains unreadable dictates the tempo, frames the narrative, and manipulates outcomes. Silence is a shield and a sword. It protects the strategist while dismantling adversaries. Every unspoken word, every unexpressed emotion, and every measured absence becomes a tool. The more the opponent engages, the deeper they fall into the strategist's design. Stillness is supremacy. Observation is lethal. Absence is dominion. To master the dark silence strategy is to control reality without confrontation, to dominate without sound, and to command without effort. The silent strategist wields silence as a weapon of subtle destruction. Words can incite resistance, reveal intentions, and invite scrutiny. In contrast, silence obscures intention, conceals strength, and provokes projection. Those who confront a silent presence project assumptions, fears, and desires onto it, revealing truths they never intended to share. Each pause becomes a calculated strike. Each measured glance communicates authority without articulation. In history, generals and emperors mastered this principle. They did not need to shout. They did not need to explain. They merely existed, and their presence alone unraveled opposition. Psychological dominance is achieved not through force but through restraint. Silence forces the mind of the adversary to fill voids with chaos, amplifying their vulnerabilities, while your composure magnifies your perceived power. In silence, the strategist becomes untouchable, unassailable, and unavoidable. Observing others while remaining silent reveals patterns imperceptible to the reactive mind. The strategist notes the flicker of hesitation, the micro-expressions of fear, the inconsistencies in behavior. Every human exposes themselves when their opponent refuses to react. By withholding judgment, comment, or response, the silent strategist forces self-exposure. Projection replaces calculation. Panic replaces clarity. They begin to overcommit, contradict, and misjudge. In the modern world, this principle is applicable in negotiation, leadership, and influence. Every conversation becomes a battlefield. Every meeting a theater for silent dominance. Mastery of the dark silence strategy transforms passivity into calculated action, absence into control, and observation into unstoppable influence. Words become unnecessary. Reactions become optional. Your authority is established simply by being unmoved and unreadable. The final element of silent domination is consistency. Silence loses power when unpredictably broken. The strategist maintains composure across time, space, and circumstance, creating an aura of inevitability. Opponents begin to anticipate nothing, to fear everything, and to act against themselves. In contrast, reactive individuals betray motives and surrender leverage through speech and emotion. The silent strategist manipulates perception, preserves strength, and orchestrates outcomes without speaking. Silence is both a shield and a scalpel. It protects while surgically dismantling opposition. With mastery, influence extends beyond presence. It shapes perception, rewires expectation, and controls behavior from the unseen. To understand silence is to wield it. To wield silence is to dominate without confrontation. Those who master this principle move through life unchallenged, unshakable, and unstoppable. Mastery of the dark silence strategy is not an occasional tactic. It is a lifestyle, a philosophy, a state of mind. To be silent is to be invisible yet omnipresent, calm yet terrifying, restrained yet unstoppable. Each measured glance, each deliberate pause, each refusal to react builds a psychological empire. Those around you begin to anticipate nothing and fear everything. Your words, when finally spoken, carry the weight of inevitability. History's great minds, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, understood that restraint is the truest form of power. In modern life, silence can dominate meetings, negotiations, personal interactions, and social influence. It shapes perception without coercion, dictates behavior without force, and commands respect without argument. The silent strategist is untouchable because he has mastered the internal battlefield before the external one even begins. The elite do not waste energy on words that can betray their intentions. Silence preserves authority while amplifying the opponent's errors. By refusing to engage, you force adversaries into projection, overextension, and collapse. Observation replaces action and restraint replaces reaction. Every human weakness becomes visible when contrasted against unwavering composure. Influence is no longer about persuasion, it is about inevitability. People bend to your presence not because you demand it, but because your stillness structures their perception and controls their behavior. Mastery of silence transforms you into a psychological apex predator, feared without aggression, respected without effort, and unshakable in the face of provocation. Your power is invisible yet undeniable. Every word you withhold, every emotion you contain, every glance you command becomes a tool of dominance. Now you have the blueprint. You understand that silence is a weapon. Inaction is leverage and observation is dominion. The elite call to action is simple. Apply this method ruthlessly in your own life. Begin today, watch, wait, and never speak unless it furthers your control. Observe your opponent's projection, their overreach, and their self-destruction. Preserve your composure, control your reactions, and command your presence. The dark silence strategy is not optional. It is transformative. Those who master it attract loyalty, respect, influence, and fear without a single argument. To dominate, you must first master yourself. Your voice is a tool, your stillness is a weapon, and your presence is an empire. Apply this now. Silence is supremacy, restraint is power, and observation is control.